What if the history you learned in school was just, well, half the story? We're about to dive into a really dense academic source that argues our past isn't some straight timeline, but this hidden, complex network of secrets and, you guessed it, suppressed truths.
Right, and this is the core idea from our source material. It's basically telling us to stop thinking about history as just one event after another. Instead, we should see it as this intricate web that connects three totally different things: our own primal instincts, physical artifacts that just defy all explanation, and the secret societies that have been guarding this forbidden knowledge for centuries.
So this really brings us to the central question of this whole investigation. If the official story of our past has all these holes in it, what's supposed to fill them? And maybe more importantly, what does that mean for how we understand who we are today? Okay, so here's our roadmap for piecing this giant puzzle together. We're going to start with the ancient software that's still running in our own minds. Then we'll look at the physical glitches in the historical record. From there, we'll uncover the secret keepers of this knowledge, see how their plans are unfolding in the modern world, and finally, we'll bring it all together to paint a radically different picture of human history. First up, our ancient reptilian brain. So the source argues that before we can even begin to understand secret history, we have to understand the primal operating system that's been running human behavior for literally millions of years. And to do that, we have to look at neuroscientist Paul MacLean's triune brain model. The big idea here is that our brain isn't just one single unified system. Nope. It's more like three distinct biological computers, all stacked on top of each other through evolution, and each one kind of has its own agenda. And here they are, the three layers of our brain. Now, while our neocortex is busy handling logic and abstract thought, it's that R complex way down at the base, our reptilian inheritance, that's driving our most primal instincts. We're talking aggression, territoriality, and the need to create rigid social hierarchies. This ancient programming, well, it's the key to understanding the hidden forces at play throughout our history. So, here's the really crucial takeaway from all this. When you see rigid bureaucracies, or political power plays, or people blindly following some ritual, you're not just witnessing culture. What you're really seeing is the R complex in action. It's our inner reptiles still pulling the strings after all these millions of years. All right, now that we've looked at the ancient programming inside our own heads, let's switch gears and look at the physical world. Let's talk about the objects that simply do not fit into our accepted timeline. These are the unexplained artifacts, the glitches in the matrix of our historical record. Researchers have a name for these: out-of-place artifacts, or OOPArts. Basically, they're man-made objects that have been discovered in geological layers that are millions of years old, long before humans were even supposed to exist. According to mainstream science, they just shouldn't be there. Period. Now, the source points to a bunch of really startling examples from North America that just throw a wrench in our understanding of human evolution. And we're not talking about small stuff here. We're talking about skeletons of giants up to 12 feet tall, skulls with actual horn-like protrusions, and even the San Pedro mummy, a perfectly formed 14-inch adult. Every single one of these finds hints at a human story that is way more complex and diverse than what you'll find in any textbook. But nothing, and I mean nothing, might be more timeline-shattering than this. Mainstream science is crystal clear. Trilobites died out 280 million years before the earliest humans showed up. And yet, in Antelope Springs, Utah, a fossil was found in 300-million-year-old rock. It shows a clear shoe or sandal print crushing a trilobite under its heel. Think about that. One single artifact that, if it's real, could rewrite the entire story of life on Earth.
So the big question is, where is all this evidence now? Well, the source claims there's a really disturbing pattern. When these kinds of artifacts are turned over to major institutions like the Smithsonian, they often just disappear. And this isn't just sloppy record-keeping. The source alleges that it's a systematic effort to protect the official historical narrative. It's a perfect example of that R complex we talked about, right? Defending its established hierarchy by just getting rid of any evidence that contradicts it. Which, of course, leads us to our next question. If this knowledge is real, but it's being officially suppressed, where does it go? Let's dive into the secret societies the source claims were designed to preserve it. We're talking about the keepers of secrets, with a focus on Francis Bacon and the Rosicrucians. Okay,
Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you need to pass down forbidden knowledge through centuries of political and religious persecution. You can't just write it down in a book, right? You need a way to hide it where no one would even think to look. So, how would you do it? Well, back in the 17th century, Sir Francis Bacon came up with a pretty ingenious solution: the biliteral cipher. It's basically a precursor to modern binary code. By using two slightly different fonts, say one representing a 0 and the other a 1, he could embed a completely separate, secret message within an ordinary book. It's brilliant. You're hiding forbidden knowledge in plain sight, right under the nose of any censor.
And look, this wasn't some fringe conspiracy theory back then. Bacon's own contemporary, the famous playwright Ben Jonson, wrote this about him. He was acknowledging that Bacon was seen, even in his own time, as a man who was himself a mystery, the leader of a secret network dedicated to a universal reformation of the whole wide world.
Now, this whole tradition of hidden knowledge and world transformation didn't just end with Bacon. Oh no, it evolved and it eventually found its most powerful expression in Freemasonry. So let's take a look at Masonry's global blueprint and how they became what the source calls the modern architects of power.
Citing a German intelligence document, the source lays out what it claims is the ultimate goal of Freemasonry, the creation of a Menschheitsbund, which translates to a union of humanity. This is the grand vision of a future global society where all the divisions we have, nation, race, creed, are just erased, leaving one single universal brotherhood.
And they apparently have a two-pronged strategy to get there. First, there's the inner work. This is all the secret rituals and teachings inside the lodge, designed to transform an individual, a rough stone, into a perfected, enlightened member. Then there's the outer work. That's when these perfected individuals are sent out into the world to influence politics, culture, and finance, all to advance the group's long-term global agenda.
So how did this grand plan actually work in practice? Well, the source claims that even though Freemasonry was officially apolitical, it became an absolutely crucial tool for the British Empire. By setting up lodges in the colonies and bringing in local elites, they used the promise of brotherhood and equality to co-opt influential leaders. And those leaders, often without even knowing it, ended up helping to solidify British imperial control.
So it's time to bring all these threads together now: our primal brain, the lost artifacts, and the secret societies that guard them. When you connect all the dots, the source reveals a pretty startling picture. History isn't a story of progress. It's the story of an endless war.
And here it is, the final thesis. History isn't some peaceful progression of events. It is an active battleground. On one side, you have the revelation of these disruptive truths, like anomalous artifacts. On the other side, you have active suppression, which is driven by that R-complex's primal need to defend its territory and maintain the existing power structure. The secret societies then operate in the middle, trying to preserve the very knowledge that the establishment is trying to erase. And this all leaves us with one final, pretty heavy thought. If so much of our past has been suppressed or hidden away in ciphers or just locked away in some dusty archive, it means that the history we all think we know is only a tiny fraction of the real story. It forces us to ask, if history is a secret, who holds the key?